Usually when you open your eyes in the morning, there's this underlying assumption that your eyes are acting like little cameras. Like, you look at your coffee mug, the light hits your retina, and boom, you see a mug.
Right, it feels completely instantaneous, just a direct feed of reality.
But then you dive into contemporary computational neuroscience, and suddenly, that camera is basically broken. We're looking at a perceptual landscape that is entirely fabricated.
Yeah, it completely flips our intuitive understanding of how we actually interact with the world.
It really does. So if our eyes aren't cameras, what are they? Well, that is exactly what we're going to explore in today's deep dive. We're looking at a mind-bending piece from the Substack Spiral Seeker titled The Hallucination You Call Reality.
Such a fascinating read.
Oh, absolutely. And the mission today is to fundamentally rewire how you understand your own waking consciousness. Because the core premise here is just staggering. You have never directly perceived reality. Your waking life is actually a controlled hallucination generated by your brain.
It sounds crazy, but it's based on a dominant neuroscientific model called predictive processing, or the Bayesian brain hypothesis.
Okay, so let's unpack this. How does the brain actually fake reality? Because I read this and immediately thought of that experience where you're driving on the highway for 20 minutes and suddenly you realize you have zero memory of the road.
Oh yeah, that's a classic example.
Right. So are we literally hallucinating the highway because our brain's guess was just that good?
Basically, yes. Think of Bayesian logic like a weather forecast. Your brain looks at all the past clouds to predict today's rain, and it only bothers to update that internal model if the sky unexpectedly stays sunny.
Okay, so it's predicting based on past data.
Exactly. We used to think sensation flowed upward, from your eyes up to your brain, but it's actually the exact opposite. Your cortex is constantly sending predictions downward.
So it's kind of like how Netflix streams video, right? Like, it doesn't send you a whole new heavy picture for every single frame, because that would take way too much bandwidth.
Right, it just transmits the pixels that change.
Yeah, so the brain is doing that.
That is a perfect way to look at it. Your brain is streaming reality the exact same way. Before a photon even hits your retina, your brain has already generated a simulation of what it expects to encounter.
Wow.
And the senses, they only send prediction errors, like the pixels that changed back up to the brain. So if the highway looks exactly like your brain predicted, no new data reaches your conscious awareness.
You just hallucinated the road so perfectly that reality didn't need to add anything. That is wild.
It really is.
But it makes me wonder, though, if my visual cortex is busy predicting the highway, what part of my brain is predicting me? Like, who is actually driving the car?
Well, that brings us to the default mode network, or DMN. It's this network of interacting brain regions that essentially acts as the ultimate prediction frame.
Okay, so it constructs your ongoing narrative.
Yeah, it constructs your ego, your baseline sense of self.
Okay, so if reality is this tightly controlled, highly compressed model maintained by the DMN, what happens when the error signals overwhelm this system?
That is where things get really interesting.
Because the author points out something that honestly kind of broke my brain. The idea that taking psychedelics like psilocybin and seeing textures breathe is actually less hallucinatory than being completely sober.
I know, it sounds totally paradoxical.
It does. I have to push back on this a bit. How can tripping possibly be considered more real?
Well, psychedelics chemically suppress the default mode network. So the ego's top-down prediction frame weakens.
Right, so the filter goes down.
Exactly. And because of that, the raw, unfiltered sensory data, those error signals that your brain usually compresses or just ignores, they suddenly break into your consciousness.
Wait, so you aren't actually hallucinating breathing walls?
No, you're finally perceiving the raw, chaotic sensory data that your sober brain normally hides from you.
Oh, wow. So we actually need that sober hallucination just to survive. Like, without that predictive compression, we'd just be completely paralyzed by information overload.
That is the ultimate survival value of the hallucination. It keeps us functioning. Without it, we'd be like a computer crashing, because every single application is demanding full CPU all at once.
Right. That makes total sense.
And understanding this compression mechanism completely reframes how we look at certain mental health pathologies too. Take schizophrenia, for example.
Okay, how does that fit in?
Under this model, it's a state where the brain's prediction engine goes into overdrive, but the error correction pipeline is broken.
So the auditory hallucinations aren't just random noise.
Right, they are unconstrained predictions running wild without reality actually checking them.
Which means depression would be the mechanical opposite then. The predictive model becomes pathologically rigid.
Exactly. If you're depressed, your brain stubbornly filters out positive error signals.
Like a genuine compliment from a friend or something.
Right, because it doesn't fit the expected negative baseline. It literally blocks out the light to maintain its internal model.
It traps you in a sensory confirmation bias.
Yeah. This framework really forces you to accept that consciousness is not some transparent window onto the world. It is essentially a highly compressed user interface designed solely to keep you functioning, not to show you the objective truth.
So the next time you open your eyes in the morning and look at your coffee mug, remember you're just interacting with your brain's best guess.
It's a very humbling thought.
It really is. But before we wrap up, there's a staggering implication here that goes beyond the
Oh,
text. If our brains are constantly predicting reality based on past, stable physical inputs, what happens when we spend 8 hours a day staring at highly engineered, algorithmically unpredictable screens?
that is a great question.
Right. Are we constantly flooding our system with artificial prediction errors? And if so, are we fundamentally breaking our prediction engines? Something for you to think about until next time.